The Galactic Empire, a sprawling civilization that controlled thousands of planets across the Milky Way, had always looked down on lesser species. Their advanced technology, ancient history, and immense fleets gave them a sense of invincibility. To them, Earth was nothing more than a backwater rock with barely functional technology and a population of squabbling nations. It was almost insulting that humans dared call themselves a civilization. When Earth's radio signals reached the Empire's outer colonies, the Senate took it as a joke. Primitive messages filled with static, clunky language and barely any sophistication. They decided to send an ultimatum to this tiny planet: surrender and join the Empire as a vassal state, or be annihilated. In the Imperial Senate chamber, a grand hall filled with alien representatives from every corner of the galaxy, the decision to contact Earth was met with laughter. A hologram of Earth floated in the center, spinning slowly. One senator sneered, "Their defenses are nothing but toys. Why even bother with an ultimatum? Just take what we want." Admiral Takar, a towering creature with scales that shimmered like oil, leaned forward. "Because it's amusing," he growled, his voice dripping with disdain. "Let them think they have a choice. We'll show them the might of the Empire soon enough." The message was transmitted to Earth in a grand display. A massive Imperial warship, the Dominion, appeared in orbit, projecting a hologram of Admiral Takar to every screen on the planet. His voice boomed, translated into hundreds of languages. "People of Earth," he said, his tone cold and arrogant, "you stand before the Galactic Empire, the greatest force this galaxy has ever known. Your technology is primitive, your armies laughable. We offer you a chance to join us as a vassal state. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." On Earth, the reaction was mixed. Politicians argued, citizens panicked, and scientists scrambled to understand the scale of the Empire's technology. Some nations urged surrender, believing resistance was futile. Others, however, spoke of defiance, unwilling to bow to an alien overlord. But amidst the chaos, in a secret underground facility, a group of engineers, military leaders, and scientists watched the ultimatum in silence. They didn't panic or argue. Instead, they turned to a sleek, angular warship docked in the center of the massive chamber. Its hull gleamed under the harsh lights, and faint energy ripples danced along its edges. This was ISV Dauntless, humanity's most advanced warship, a project so secret even most world leaders didn't know of its existence. It was equipped with experimental technologies, from quantum shielding to weapons that bent the very laws of physics. It was humanity's ace in the hole, a desperate gamble against the Empire's overwhelming power. Captain Alina Drake stepped forward, her gaze fixed on the massive hologram of Admiral Takar. "He thinks we're weak," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "Let's show him how wrong he is." The countdown to Earth's first stand against the Galactic Empire had begun. Inside the heavily guarded underground facility, the air buzzed with tension. Engineers worked tirelessly, their voices sharp and hurried as they ran final diagnostics on the ISV Dauntless. The ship represented everything humanity had learned and achieved in secret. Its sleek, triangular hull shimmered with a metallic sheen, hiding advanced systems that even the most optimistic scientists hadn't believed possible just a decade ago. Captain Alina Drake walked the length of the command deck, her boots echoing softly against the polished floor. She was a woman of action, not one for speeches or politics. Her sharp green eyes scanned the screens, where streams of data scrolled endlessly. Every movement she made carried purpose, a quiet confidence that inspired her crew. Behind her, Lieutenant Raj Patel, the Dauntless's chief engineer, adjusted his glasses and pointed at a holographic display of the ship's systems. "Quantum shielding at 95% efficiency," he reported. "Experimental railgun is operational, though I still wouldn't recommend prolonged use." Alina smirked. "We won't need prolonged use if we hit them hard enough the first time." Despite her calm demeanor, she knew the odds were stacked against them. The Galactic Empire's fleet outnumbered Earth's entire military several thousand to one. Even with the Dauntless's cutting-edge technology, it felt like throwing a stone at a mountain. But Alina wasn't the type to back down from a challenge. Nearby, Commander Julia Voss, the tactical officer, approached. "Captain, we've just intercepted Imperial communications. They're sending a detachment of ships to demonstrate their power. Standard procedure for intimidating primitive worlds." Alina's jaw tightened. How many ships? 3 destroyers and a carrier. Enough to make a statement without wasting resources. The captain's lips curved into a slight smile. "Good. Let's make our own statement." The Dauntless's design wasn't just about firepower. It was built for speed, stealth, and adaptability. Its cloaking system made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors, and its onboard AI, nicknamed Athena, could analyze battle scenarios faster than any human could. As the ship prepared to launch, the crew took their positions. Raj stood by the engineering console, Julia manned the tactical station, and communications officer Lena Cho kept an ear on Imperial channels. The air felt electric, a mix of fear and excitement. "All systems green," Raj announced. "Engage stealth mode," Alina ordered. The ship's exterior shimmered briefly before blending seamlessly with the darkness of space. The Dauntless ascended through the Earth's atmosphere, its engines humming softly. As it breached the vacuum of space, the holographic display lit up with the positions of the approaching Imperial ships. Alina stared at the screen, her heart steady. "Athena, plot a course to intercept." Course plotted. The AI responded in a smooth, almost human voice. "Let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity," Alina said, her voice filled with determination. The Dauntless surged forward, a lone warship carrying the hopes of an entire planet, ready to face the Empire's arrogance head-on. The Imperial detachment moved through the outer edges of the solar system with ease, their ships gliding like predators through the void. The 3 destroyers and the carrier, Iron Justice, were masterpieces of Imperial engineering, bristling with weapons and shields capable of leveling entire planets. To the Empire, this was just another routine operation, a show of force to crush resistance before it could even begin. Admiral Veros, commanding from the bridge of the Iron Justice, stood with his arms crossed, his pale, leathery skin glinting under the artificial lights. He had seen countless conquests and never once faced significant opposition. To him, Earth was just another primitive world waiting to be brought to heel. "Any sign of activity from the humans?" Veros asked, his voice casual. A junior officer bowed slightly. "None. Admiral, our long-range sensors show no fleet movements, no energy spikes, nothing." Veros sneered. "Pathetic. Prepare the fleet for orbital deployment. We'll take their planet within a single rotation." But as the Imperial fleet cruised past Jupiter, something unusual happened. A faint energy signature flickered on their sensors, too brief to pinpoint. "Admiral," the sensor officer said, frowning, "we've detected an anomaly. It's small, but it's moving fast." "An anomaly," Veros repeated, irritated. "Clarify." Before the officer could respond, the anomaly struck. Out of the blackness of space, the ISV Dauntless emerged like a ghost, its quantum cloaking dropping for just an instant as its railgun fired. A streak of brilliant blue light tore through the void, slamming into the lead destroyer. The Imperial ship's shields flared violently, struggling to absorb the impact, but the railgun's sheer power overwhelmed them. The destroyer exploded in a blinding flash, debris scattering in all directions. On board the Dauntless, Captain Alina Drake gripped the armrest of her chair. "One down. Julia, target the carrier next. Keep them guessing." "Aye, Captain," Julia replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. The Dauntless vanished again, its cloaking system re-engaging as Imperial ships scrambled to locate their attacker. "Where is it?" Admiral Veros barked, his calm shattered. "Unknown, sir," the sensor officer stammered. It's It's using some kind of advanced stealth technology. The Dauntless reappeared briefly, firing a barrage of missiles at the carrier's engines. Explosions rippled along the Iron Justice's hull, sending the massive ship into disarray. Fighters scrambled to launch, but the Dauntless had already disappeared again, leaving chaos in its wake. Inside the Dauntless, the crew worked in synchronized precision. "Enemy carrier's engines are crippled," Julia reported. "Good," Elena said. "Let's keep them off balance." The remaining 2 destroyers tried to coordinate, their turrets firing blindly into the void. The Dauntless darted between them, its movements precise and deadly. Another railgun shot struck true, tearing a destroyer in half. By the time the battle ended, only wreckage remained of the Imperial fleet. As the Dauntless cloaked once more and retreated, Elena leaned back in her chair, a small smile on her face. "Send a message to Earth," she said. "The Empire just learned what happens when they underestimate us." The wreckage of the Imperial fleet drifted silently near Jupiter, a stark reminder of humanity's unexpected victory. But on Earth, there was little time for celebration. Inside the underground command center, the mood was tense. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Captain Elena Drake sat in the Dauntless's briefing room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the aftermath of the skirmish. Damage assessments, resource reports, and intercepted Imperial communications floated before her. The victory had come at a cost. The Dauntless's quantum shielding was weakened, and the railgun was dangerously close to overheating during the battle. Lieutenant Raj Patel stood beside her, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "We pushed the limits of this ship," he admitted, pointing to a diagram of the Dauntless. "The railgun coils need immediate maintenance, and our cloaking system's power drain is higher than we predicted. If they send reinforcements, we won't be able to pull the same trick twice." Elena nodded, her jaw tightening. "We knew this wasn't going to be easy, Raj. But this ship wasn't built for easy." Across the room, Commander Julia Voss tapped a screen, bringing up intercepted transmissions from the Galactic Empire. "We've picked up chatter from their outer colonies," she said. "The Empire knows something happened. They're trying to piece together how a single ship could destroy one of their fleets. Reinforcements are already being mobilized." "How long do we have?" Elena asked, her voice calm despite the tension in the room. "Not long," Julia replied. "Days, maybe a week at most. And this time, they won't underestimate us." The room fell silent. Everyone understood the stakes. The Empire's arrogance had been their advantage in the first battle, but now humanity's greatest weapon, surprise, was gone. "Captain," a new voice chimed in. It was Athena, the Dauntless's eye. Her calm, human-like tone filled the room. "I've analyzed the data from the battle. The Empire relies heavily on centralized command structures and predictable tactics. If we strike their forward operations base before their reinforcements arrive, we can delay their response and gain valuable intelligence." Elena leaned forward, considering the suggestion. It was a gamble, but it was better than waiting for the Empire's full wrath to descend on Earth. "Julia, get me a detailed map of the surrounding sector. Raj, prioritize repairs to the cloaking system and railgun. We're going to need every advantage." "Aye, Captain," they replied in unison. As the meeting ended, Elena lingered, staring at the hologram of the Earth, her planet, her home. Billions of lives depended on the choices she made in the coming days. In the vastness of space, the Empire's arrogance had been their first mistake. Their second mistake, she thought, would be underestimating humanity's resolve to fight for survival. "Let's see how they like being on the defensive," Elena muttered to herself, a steely determination in her voice. The Dauntless powered up, its repairs underway and its crew ready for the next move. The uneasy calm before the storm wouldn't last long. The Imperial High Command did not take defeat lightly. Within hours of receiving the news of their fleet's destruction near Jupiter, the Empire dispatched a battle group of 6 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and the dreadnought Tyrant's Wrath. This was no longer a show of power, It was retaliation. Admiral Krenvalfur, a veteran known for his ruthless efficiency, was placed in charge of the operation. He stood on the bridge of the Tyrant's Wrath, a towering figure with icy blue skin and piercing black eyes. The destruction of an Imperial fleet by a single human ship had bruised his pride, and he intended to make Earth suffer for it. These primitives dared challenge us, Kren growled to his officers. We will show them what true power looks like. Destroy everything in your path. Leave no trace of their defiance. On board the ISV Dauntless, Captain Alina Drake studied the incoming fleet's movements. The holographic display projected the Empire's ships, their formations precise and overwhelming. This was a force designed to crush resistance swiftly and leave no survivors. 6 destroyers, 2 cruisers, and a dreadnought, Julia Voss reported, her voice steady but tense. Their formation suggests they're expecting a direct engagement. Alina frowned, tapping her chin in thought. They're coming in heavy, confident we'll fight them head-on. That's their weakness. We won't give them the fight they're expecting. Do we even have a choice? Lieutenant Raj Patel asked. The Dauntless is still under repair. Our railgun is operational, but we can't keep taking shots without risking a total breakdown. Alina turned to the hologram of Athena. Options. The AI's calm voice filled the room. The asteroid belt provides ample cover for a guerrilla-style engagement. We can exploit the Empire's reliance on centralized command to sow confusion. If we neutralize their dreadnought, the rest of the fleet will falter. Elena nodded, a plan forming in her mind. Julia, set a course for the asteroid belt. Raj, divert power to the cloaking system and engines. We're going to hit them where they least expect it. The Imperial fleet entered the asteroid belt cautiously, their sensors scanning for any sign of the Dauntless. Kren sat in his command chair, his eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical displays. Where are they? He muttered, irritated. Suddenly, a railgun shot sliced through the darkness, striking one of the destroyers. Its shields flared and failed, the ship erupting in a fiery explosion. Before the Empire could react, the Dauntless vanished into the maze of rocks and debris. Find them, Kren roared. The Dauntless darted through the asteroid field, using its agility and stealth to outmaneuver the larger Imperial ships. Every few minutes, it emerged to deliver precise strikes before disappearing again. The Empire's formation began to break as panic spread among the fleet. Admiral, their tactics are disrupting our systems, an officer reported. We've lost contact with 2 destroyers. Kren's fists tightened. These humans, they're not just primitives. They're predators. The Dauntless had turned the hunter into the hunted, proving once again that humanity would not go quietly into the night. The Imperial fleet's massive ships navigated cautiously through the dense asteroid belt. The once confident Admiral Krenvalther now paced the bridge of the Tyrant's Wrath, his expression a mix of anger and disbelief. How could one human ship, a single craft, humiliate the mighty Galactic Empire? He wasn't just fighting a battle now. His reputation was on the line. Deploy scout drones, Kren barked at his officers. Sweep the entire sector, flush them out, and destroy anything that moves. The Imperial fleet's destroyers fanned out, launching dozens of small, agile drones into the asteroid field. These machines were designed for detection, equipped with advanced sensors that could pinpoint even the faintest energy signature. On the ISV Dauntless, Captain Alina Drake watched the holographic display as the drones closed in. Her crew was tense, the hum of the ship's engines barely audible over the quiet buzz of activity on the command deck. They're adapting, Julia Voss said, pointing to the screen. If those drones get too close, they'll expose our position. Alina's mind raced. The Dauntless had the element of surprise, but the asteroid belt worked both ways. It provided cover, but it also limited their maneuverability. They needed to turn this into an advantage. Athena, Alina said, her voice steady. Can we use the asteroids against them? The AI's holographic avatar appeared, nodding slightly. The Empire's ships are tightly clustered to avoid collisions. If we can create a controlled chain reaction, we could destabilize their formation and force them into disarray. Controlled chain reaction, Raj Patil asked, raising an eyebrow. Target the largest asteroids near their fleet, Athena explained. The explosions will send debris cascading through their formation. Elena didn't hesitate. Julia, lock onto the designated targets. Raj, route power to the weapon systems. Let's shake them up. Moments later, the Dauntless emerged briefly from its hiding spot, firing precise shots at a cluster of massive asteroids near the Imperial fleet. Explosions rippled through the belt, sending shards of rock hurtling through space like a deadly hailstorm. The Imperial destroyers struggled to evade the onslaught. One ship's shields failed under the impact of a massive fragment, and it exploded in a fiery burst. Another destroyer veered off course, colliding with a smaller asteroid and tearing its hull open. "Admiral, the fleet is in disarray," an officer shouted aboard the Tyrant's Wrath. Kren slammed his fist onto the armrest of his chair. "Regroup. Regroup now. Do not let them escape." But the Dauntless wasn't running. It used the chaos to strike again, targeting one of the cruisers with a volley of missiles. The cruiser's engines detonated, and it drifted lifelessly into the debris field. Elena's voice cut through the tension on her bridge. "We're not here to win the war today. We're here to send a message. Earth is not an easy target." The Dauntless vanished into the field once more, leaving behind a trail of destruction and a humiliated Imperial fleet struggling to recover. Admiral Kren Valthor stood motionless on the bridge of the Tyrant's Wrath, his icy glare fixed on the chaos unfolding on the tactical display. The mighty Imperial fleet, his fleet, was now scattered, its once pristine formation shattered. Debris from destroyed destroyers and cruisers floated aimlessly in the asteroid field, and the faint energy trails of the ISV Dauntless taunted him like a ghost. "How is one ship doing this?" Kren growled, his voice cold but laced with frustration. "The humans are using the terrain to their advantage," an officer stammered. "Their stealth technology is far more advanced than we anticipated." Kren's lips curled into a snarl. "Enough excuses. This is no longer a simple skirmish. This is an insult to the Empire itself. Prepare the Tyrant's Wrath for direct engagement. I will crush them personally." On board the Dauntless, the mood was tense but determined. Captain Elena Drake stood at the center of the command deck, her crew working with quiet urgency around her. The holographic display showed the aftermath of their attacks. 3 destroyers and a cruiser eliminated, but the Empire's flagship still loomed, its dreadnought-class weapons capable of leveling entire cities. "They're regrouping," Julia Voss reported, her fingers flying across the tactical console. "The dreadnought is moving into the field. They're coming straight for us." Elena folded her arms, her green eyes narrowing. Kren's pride is hurt. He's going to push everything he has into this. Raj Patel, standing by the engineering console, chimed in. "We've pushed the railgun to its limit. It can fire one more full power shot, but after that, it'll be offline until we can overhaul it." "One shot is all we need," Elena said, her voice steady. "But we need to make it count." The Tyrant's Wrath entered the asteroid field like a predator stalking its prey. Its massive hull bristled with weaponry, and its shields shimmered with a faint blue glow. Kren sat in his command chair, his gaze fixed on the main viewport. "Lock on to their last known position," he ordered. "Destroy everything in that sector." The dreadnought's massive cannons fired, obliterating entire clusters of asteroids in a fiery cascade. The explosions lit up the void, but the Dauntless remained hidden, cloaked and silent. Inside the Dauntless, Athena's voice broke the tense silence. "The dreadnought is exposing its engines to maneuver through the debris. This is the only opening we'll get." Elena nodded. "Julia, target their engines. Raj, divert all remaining power to the railgun. We're taking the shot." The Dauntless emerged from the shadows, its railgun glowing with energy. Before the Tyrant's Wrath could react, a streak of blue light shot through space, striking the dreadnought's rear engines. The shields flared and collapsed, and a massive explosion ripped through the ship's propulsion systems. The Tyrant's Wrath listed to one side, its movements sluggish and uncoordinated. On the Imperial bridge, Kren's expression turned from rage to disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered, gripping his chair as alarms blared around him. On the Dauntless, Alina allowed herself a small smile. "One shot, one message," she said quietly. "Earth fights back." As the Dauntless cloaked and retreated deeper into the asteroid field, the Tyrant's Wrath drifted helplessly, the once mighty dreadnought reduced to a broken symbol of the Empire's arrogance. The Tyrant's Wrath floated helplessly in the asteroid belt, its engines reduced to molten wreckage. Fires burned inside the ship, and emergency lights flickered across its massive hull. On board, Admiral Krenvalther stared at the tactical display, his icy composure shattered. For the first time in his long, decorated career, he was facing the unimaginable: defeat at the hands of a single human warship. "Admiral, the dreadnought's power systems are failing," a trembling officer reported. "Shields are offline, weapons are unresponsive, and the auxiliary engines are too damaged to restore mobility." Kren clenched his fists, his sharp nails digging into his palms. "And the Dauntless? Where is it now?" "Gone, sir. Our scanners can't detect it." Kren's anger flared, but he forced himself to remain composed. He straightened and turned to his officers. "Send a distress signal to the nearest Imperial fleet. Inform them that reinforcements are required immediately." The officer hesitated. "Admiral, if we send that signal, High Command will demand a full report. They will know about everything." Kren's glare silenced him. "Let them know. I'd rather face their scrutiny than allow these humans to continue unchecked." Meanwhile, deep within the asteroid belt, the ISV Dauntless remained cloaked as its crew celebrated their latest victory. The bridge hummed with quiet excitement, but Captain Alina Drake kept her focus. "This isn't over yet," Alina said firmly, silencing the murmurs of relief. "Kren isn't the type to accept defeat quietly. He'll call for reinforcements." Julia Voss nodded, studying the tactical display. "Their distress signal is already broadcasting. If we don't act quickly, the next fleet they send will be even larger." "What's our status?" Elena asked, turning to Raj Patel. Raj wiped a hand across his face, his expression grim. "Not great. The railgun's coils are fried, and we're running low on missile reserves. Cloaking is holding for now, but our power core is running hot. If we push it too far, we risk a total shutdown." Alina leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. They had done the impossible, crippling a dreadnought and scattering a fleet. But the Dauntless couldn't survive another full-scale engagement. Athena's voice broke the silence. "Captain, I've intercepted their distress signal. It's broadcasting on multiple channels, but I can scramble the message. It will buy us time." "Do it," Alina said without hesitation. "But it won't stop them forever. We need to make our next move count." Julia looked up, her eyes sharp with determination. "What if we turn their distress signal against them? Use it to lure the reinforcements into a trap?" Alina considered the idea. It was risky, playing with fire while their own ship was on the brink, but it was their best shot. "Do it, Athena. Mimic their signal and reroute it to a nearby sector. We'll make them think the Dauntless is retreating." As the Dauntless prepared for its next move, Alina stared out at the stars, her expression hard as steel. She knew the stakes were higher than ever. Humanity's survival hung by a thread, but as long as the Dauntless could fight, she would ensure that thread held. This wasn't just a battle anymore. It was a war of wills, and Alina was determined to make the Empire regret ever underestimating Earth. The ISV Dauntless floated silently in the void, hidden deep within the asteroid belt. Its crew worked tirelessly, knowing that their next move could decide the fate of Earth. The mimic distress signal Athena had crafted was now active, broadcasting a carefully altered message that suggested the Dauntless was retreating toward a nearby nebula. It was bait, and the Empire was already taking it. Admiral Kren's reinforcements are en route, Julia Voss reported, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. A fleet of 12 ships, 3 cruisers, 8 destroyers, and another dreadnought. They'll arrive in the nebula in 2 hours. Elena Drake stood at the center of the bridge, her arms crossed and her eyes focused on the holographic display. The enemy forces were overwhelming. But that was the point. The Empire's arrogance would be their undoing. Raj, Elena said, turning to her chief engineer, how long can we keep the cloaking system running? Raj Patel shook his head, his exhaustion evident. Not long. The core is already overheating. If we push it too hard, we'll lose everything. Shields, engines, weapons. Elena nodded, understanding the stakes. We won't need it for long, just enough to get in position. 2 hours later, the Imperial reinforcements arrived at the nebula, their ships gleaming against the swirling clouds of gas and light. The Tyrant's Wrath, now repaired enough to travel, limped at the rear of the formation. Admiral Kren sat in his command chair, his expression cold and calculating. They're here, Kren said, his voice low. The humans are hiding in the nebula. Flush them out. The Imperial fleet advanced, their sensors scanning the dense gas. But the nebula wasn't just a hiding spot, it was a trap. Hidden among the swirling clouds, the Dauntless waited silently, its railgun offline but its missile bays armed. Athena's voice echoed through the bridge. The fleet is in position, Captain. They're moving into the kill zone. Elena's lips tightened. All hands, prepare for combat. This is it. As the Imperial ships entered the heart of the nebula, the Dauntless struck. Its missiles streaked through the gas, detonating with pinpoint accuracy. The explosions lit up the void, tearing through the Empire's tightly packed formation. Where are they? Kren shouted as his fleet descended into chaos. The Dauntless darted through the nebula, its stealth systems flickering as it delivered blow after blow. Destroyers were disabled, their engines erupting in flames. A cruiser attempted to retaliate, but its weapons systems failed as debris from a nearby explosion struck its hull. Kren's rage boiled over. All ships converge on their position, overwhelm them. But the Dauntless wasn't fighting to win, it was fighting to survive. Using the nebula's interference and their agility, they sowed confusion, exploiting every weakness in the Empire's rigid tactics. Finally, the Tyrant's Wrath found itself exposed. The Dauntless emerged from the gas one last time, firing its remaining missiles directly at the Dreadnought's bridge. The explosion rocked the massive ship, and Kren's final scream was lost in the fire.